Hello and welcome back to Kim Reads as we continue with Story of My Life. Chapter 17, Gilman School. I was determined to succeed during my second year at Gilman School, but I encouraged unforeseen difficulties in the first few weeks excel. Mr. Gilman felt that I should study mathematics principally that year. Besides that, I had algebra, physics, geometry, astronomy, Latin, and Greek. Unfortunately, many of the books I needed hadn't been embossed before my classes began. The classes I was in were huge, and it was not possible for my teachers to bestow special attention on me. Miss Sullivan was forced to read me all the books for me and interpret for the teachers as well. For the first time in 11 years, it appeared that Miss Sullivan would not be equal to the task. Until I could purchase a Braille writer, it was difficult for me to solve the problems in physics and write algebra and geometry in class. I couldn't follow the geometrical figures on the blackboard with my eyes, and the only way to clear them was to make a cushion with straight and curved while I was having vent ends. There were times when I lost all hope and courage. But slowly and steadily, my troubles began to disappear. The embossed books and other apparatus arrived, and I immersed myself in my work diligently and confidently. Algebra and geometry were the only subjects that were elusive, despite my best efforts to comprehend them. But although I had no aptitude for mathematics, certain points were not fully explained to me as well. The geometrical diagrams were particularly irritating because I could not understand the relation the different parts had with one another. Only after Mr. Key started teaching me I had better clarity in mathematics. I was trying to overcome these problems when something happened that changed everything. Just before the books arrived, Mr. Gilman insisted to Miss Sullivan that I was being made to work too hard, and despite my earnest protests, he reduced the number of my recitations. Initially, it had been decided that I would need 5 years to prepare to college, but after seeing my progress, it was concluded that I would be ready in 2 years. Mr. Gilman had agreed to this, but when he saw that my tasks were becoming puzzling for me, he declared that I was overworked. He insisted I remain in his school for 3 more years. I did not agree to his plan as I wanted to enter college with my class. I was unwell on November 17th and did not attend school. Miss Sullivan knew it was nothing serious, but Mr. Gilman overreacted. He concluded that I was breaking down and making alterations to my studies that would make it impossible for me to take my final examinations with my class. Finally, the differences of opinion between Mr. Gilman and Miss Sullivan reached such proportions that my mother was forced to withdraw both me and my sister from the Cambridge school. After some delay, I was put under the care of a tutor named Mr. Merton S. Keith of Cambridge. Miss Sullivan and I spent the remainder of the winter with our friends, the Chamberlains, in Wretham, 25 miles away from Boston. Mr. Keith arrived here today to teach me twice a week from February to July 1898. He taught me geometry, algebra, Latin, and Greek, while Miss Sullivan interpreted his instruction. We returned to Boston in October 1898. In a span of 8 months, I received lessons from Mr. Keith 5 times a week. In hourly lessons, he patiently explained everything I hadn't understood in the previous lesson, gave me new work to do, and took home the Greek exercises I had done during the week on my typewriter. After correcting them at home, he returned them on his next visit. This is how I prepared for college without interruption, and found this private education easier and better than we taught in class. There were no rush and no conclusion, and my tutor had a lot of time to explain to me whatever I did not comprehend. I worked faster and did better than what I did in school. Mathematics was still problematic, but Mr. Keith even made mathematics interesting. He created small problems that my brain registered easily. Keeping in mind my alert and keen, he trained it to reason clearly. I sought conclusions in a calm and logical manner now, instead of jumping to conclusions wildly. He was always gentle and kind, no matter how stupid or dull I was. I took my final examinations for Radcliffe College in June 1899. Elementary Greek and Advanced Latin were scheduled on the first day, while the second day had algebra, geometry, and advanced Greek. Miss Sullivan was not permitted by the college authorities to read the examination papers to me. So an instructor at the Perkins Institute for the Blind, Mr. Vining, was given the responsibility to copy the papers for me in American Braille. He was a stranger and could not communicate with me but for writing Braille. The proctor was also a stranger and did not attempt to communicate with me either. The Braille worked fine enough in both languages, but problems emerged in geometry and algebra. I was perplexed and averse to wasting precious time, especially in algebra. Although I was familiar with all literary Braille used in the country, namely English, American, and New York Point, I must mention algebra and the several signs and symbols in algebra and geometry in the three systems are totally different. Sadly, I only used English Braille in my algebra. Mr. Vining had sent me a Braille copy of one of the old Harvard in algebra 2 days before the examinations. To my dismay, I discovered it was the American notation. I instantly wrote to him asking him to explain these signs. He sent me another paper and table of signs, and I quickly sat down to learn the notations. But the night before the algebra examinations, I struggled with some complicated examples. I realized I couldn't tell the combinations of bracket and brace radical. Both Mr. Keith and I were greatly worried and reached the college a little before the examination began. We had Mr. Laney explain the American symbols fully. The main problem I had with geometry was that I'd always been used to reading the propositions in line in print or have them expelled into my hand. Besides, I could not see what I had wrote on my paper, as I'd always done my work in Braille or in my head. Mr. Keith had also taught me to solve problems mentally and hadn't trained me to write examination papers. Hence, my work was excruciatingly slow, and I had to read the examples repeatedly before I could realize what I was supposed to do. But I do not blame anyone. The administrative board of Radcliffe had no idea how difficult they were making my examinations, nor were they aware of the strange hurdles I had to encounter. But if they had placed hurdles in my path unintentionally, I had the pleasure of knowing that I overcame them all. And that's the end of that chapter. See you later.